WTBR-FM, Pittsfield.
Welcome to Ham on WTBR, the all-inclusive ham radio show for hams and non-hams alike. Be part of the show. Contact us on www.facebook.com/HamJamTV. And now the hosts of the show, Peter and Jessica. Ham on.
And good morning once again. The opening worked.
Good morning, everybody. Apparently our opening decided to go, hey, I want to work today. Last week, not so much.
The opening worked. Good morning from Berkshire County, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We are WTBR-FM. This is Ham On. We got Peter and Jessica.
Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody.
At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Micheal Lawerence, N2HFO, and he will be here as a guest on the phone to tell us about antennas.
Yay.
Propagation, radios.
Good. For non-hams who finally get the answer. What is propagation and what is that and what exactly are antennas used for and why are they built, why are they used, you know.
And you will get those answers. Just to give you a little background, Micheal is one of the check-ins that we have every week on the main potato net. The chickens. On the main potato net on 3958 kilohertz, 3.958. At 4:30 on your HF dial, you can tune into the main potato net, and he's one of the big check-ins that we have, and he's actually been over to our house when we lived in Albany and helped us put antennas up. So it's going to be a fun time at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, he helped you with, I forget which one it was, but it spanned the whole entire size of the freaking roof. I forget which one it was.
The off-center fed.
Oh,
MIG5RV. All right, so the trivia question. We'll get that right out of the way quick here. Among the ranks of amateur radio enthusiasts are many royals. Which of the following is not, I repeat, is not a ham?
Not a ham?
King Juan Carlos of Spain, Prince Talia of Saudi Arabia, King Hussein of Jordan, or Queen Elizabeth II of England? So think about that, and we will have the answer for you before the show is over. Hopefully.
At least you waited 3 minutes. At least you waited 3 minutes to throw me under the bus. At least it's better than the 1 minute I had the other week.
You knew it was coming. You knew what you signed up for.
Yeah.
You knew at some point the news was going to have to go out.
Mm-hmm. Which one do you want first, ham news or local?
Whatever. You got nothing but time.
I know. I got nothing but time.
Yeah, nothing but time. Just pick something.
Let me see. I'll start a ham news for a change and go over to one of the local. Russian cosmonauts are expecting to activate slow scan television image transmission on 145.8 megahertz FM for the International Space Station on Thursday, January 30th and Friday, January 31st. As part of the My 75 experiment. My 75?
I have no clue. I didn't research it.
Slow scan TV. What exactly?
All right, slow scan TV, for those who are not ham capable, it's sending still pictures over amateur radio on specific frequencies, 14,250 or 14,230, I believe, on 20 meters. There's software and you put in almost like a QSL card, postcard, and you put in your little picture, and say, you know, and where you're from in that, and you transmit that. So anybody who has the software, Slow Scan TV software, they will pick that picture up on their interface on their computer, and then they'll send one back. The ISS does it on their passes. They'll send pictures out Slow Scan TV. So it's a way to send images, pictures over VHF bands. And
cool.
It's kind of fun. There's a couple different modes to Slow Scan TV. But the picture, I mean, it's not great picture quality because you're sending it over the airwaves.
So it's like, so it looks like you took it off a potato or something.
Yeah,
I took this with my calculator.
Depending upon how conditions are, it can get kind of fuzzy. Some of them are kind of cute, but they're nice pictures, and it's just another cool form of amateur communication.
Cool.
You can send images over amateur radio as well.
Nice. Let me see. Transmissions will be made on 145.8 megahertz FM.
2 meters.
Oh, cool.
So they're going to do 2 meter slow scan TV.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
In the slow scan TV mode, PD 120.
Which is just one of the 2 or 3 modes that you can do for slow scan TV.
Apparently, the computer that they're using on the ISS had a problem, so they're using a replacement for it. Interesting. Once images have, and once received images can be posted and viewed by the public at spaceflightsoftware.com, ARISS. So, yay, they get to put your little picture, QSL card, whatever you sent to them, up on the site. Let me see. The ISS is going to use a Kenwood TM D710E transceiver, which is part of the amateur radio station located in the Russian ISS service module. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that they actually have rigs up there. I thought it was like computer ran.
Well, they actually make calls into schools and stuff if you schedule it.
No, what I was saying, what I meant was I thought it was all done digitally. I didn't know that they actually had rigs up there.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and the ones that run them are actually licensed amateur radio operators.
Nice.
So there. Okay, so that was that, right?
Yeah, that was as far as ham news I got.
Oh, well, I got stuff here. The new amateur extra license examination question pool is out. So anybody thinking of taking their extra, the new question pool is out. Effective from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024. Has been released and is available at the National Conference of Volunteer Coordinators, the NCVEC website. The 2020-2024 Extra Class Pool incorporates significant changes compared to the current 2016-2020 question pool, which expires on June 30th. The number of questions in the pool was reduced from 712 to 622. The result was 239 modified questions, 49 new questions, and 139 questions removed due to changes in what was felt to be the abundance of outdated questions, while areas of new technology and subjects were added. In addition, an effort was made to balance the difficulty level, removing or replacing some questions deemed too easy or too difficult compared to the rest of the pool. The 2020 pool has 10 diagrams which have been renumbered because the new question pool has two fewer than the 2016 question pool.
So they redid the whole question pool for the ham radio test.
For the extra, yeah.
Oh wow! Just for the extra level?
It's time to let old things die. Snoke, Skywalker, the Sith, the Jedi, the Rebels. Let it all die.
And apparently the old question pool.
Apparently the old extra question pool. That's why we stuck that in there. Sure. Yeah. Every few years they change the question pools for all three tests. It was the extra. It was the extra pool this time.
Doesn't it get kind of confusing sometimes when you're testing?
No.
No.
No. Because the exams there'll be new exams, so it kind of makes our Ham Crams 2018 broadcast kind of a little obsolete because a couple of the questions, well, only by a couple of questions, because a couple of questions on those episodes aren't in the new question pool anymore. But it's still a good learning thing if you're thinking about taking your test, because it still gives you most of the most of what's going on and what's going to be on the test. So if you have a chance just before this show gets rebroadcast on 1301 on Thursdays at 8 p.m., go to 1301 at 7:30 p.m. for Ham Cram 2018 that emanated from the PCTV studios.
Yes, it did.
Well, you got local stuff.
Well, I got another thing. What is the Franklin County Amateur Radio Club is looking for amateur radio volunteers for the Greenfield Winter Carnival Sleigh Ride Race. The race will be held Saturday, February 1st. This is a very short race, only 4 miles. They will meet around 9 a.m., 9:15-ish at Hope and Oliver Coffee and donuts will be available. So if anybody wants
wait, where is this? Coffee and donuts available? Wait a minute. I'm there. Wait.
Hope and Oliver. It is the Franklin County.
Oh, Franklin County. Okay, it was going to be like in Pittsfield. I would have been there.
Greenfield.
All right, Greenfield, a little bit far for us to get to. Carry on.
And then be at positions by 9:45 a.m. The FCARC laden repeater will likely be used. So if any hams in Franklin County are looking for something to volunteer for, sign up. They're looking for volunteers. The race begins promptly at 9 a.m. and they should be done by 11. The fastest runners get done in about 20 minutes. Nice to know. To sign up or for any questions, contact Erica, KC1IJJ.
All right. On Sunday, January 12th, 2020, AARL New England Division Director Fred Hoppengarden, K1VR, held a division cabinet meeting for all ARRL-affiliated club presidents and other section officials. During the meeting, WMA Section Manager Rayla Jole, KB1LRL, Technical Coordinator Greg Allegan, WA1JAR, Technical Specialist Paul Topisky, W1SCX, and Technical Specialist Bob Manjuzio, K1YO, presented a new ham monitoring program. The intent is to provide access to information, tools, and resources to new hams, clubs, and VEs. Ray, Greg, Paul, Bob, and others in the section have put together a mentoring guide which is intended to be downloaded by whoever needs it and can edit it specific to their club or group. This should be given to a person that has passed their test to provide basic information, club and contact information, so they do not seem lost when they leave the room. Hopefully it will introduce them to an Elmer mentor to aid in getting started. The guide is available for download at arrl.wma.org, which is kind of good because after you take the test, a lot of the hams go, okay, what do we do now?
Exactly.
So this guide will tell you and help you with what you can do now.
I'm glad they actually are putting one out.
Because
you get a lot of new hams that are, like you said, I have my license, I passed the test, I have my license. What in the beep do I do now?
Yeah, and hopefully we can get Ray back in here and to talk about that at some point. So, because I told him he had free run if he wanted to.
Yeah.
If he wanted to come here and talk about stuff that he was putting out, and I think when he was on, he said this is one of the projects he was working on. It was going to come out in January.
Yeah, he did. He did mention.
Ray, if you're listening, KB1LRL, give me a call. We'll get you on the air here, and you can talk about that mentoring program. And speaking of that, coming up, I don't have my calendar, but coming up, I think February 26th, I think.
You think?
Well, we'll have Riley Hollinsworth on. And we will actually be talking about the old OO program, which is now the Volunteer Mentor Program. So we have that coming up.
Cool.
Yes. And in March, I'm not going to say who it is yet. It's early. But in March, you'll want to tune in, and we'll give you, I'll put the date out on the WTBR website. But early in March, we're going to have a very special guest calling into the studio.
Yes.
And you'll want to be here and want to be listening for that. And like I say, I'll put the date out on the WTBR website. I'll put the date out on the Facebook page, and I'll put the date out on my Facebook page as we get on the Ham On Facebook page as we get closer.
Yeah.
What else do you have over there?
Let me see. I have local announcements if you want me to get to those ahead of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since we have the time. Let me see. They announced and added 10 new activities to our Winter Arts Fest here in Pittsfield. The festival has included winter sports before it is meant to be part of the city's emphasis on establishing an outdoor recreational economy. So they're going to have like so there's going to be like sledding and
don't worry about that. That's we're even if that's not on, we're still on.
Oh, okay.
That's just
sorry.
me turning off my mic. Relax.
Yeah,
we're good. We didn't get booted off the air.
The festival runs February 13th until the 23rd of February.
Okay. Very good.
Yep. Still not done. There's like a second part to that. Give me a minute.
You have about a minute, so I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
While fireworks are often a staple for the summer months, they'll be having them for the Winterfest also. Let me see. Of course, the winter. They were happy to announce the winter dates for the 2020 winter fireworks display right here for Pittsfield. February 22nd. Of course, it will be like a 10-minute display, but hey, it's cute. It'll be at the Commons on First Street. The event is free if anybody wants to come and see him. Yay! And open to the public. The fireworks are sponsored by the Greylock Federal Credit Union. Hey, that sounds familiar. Interesting. And they're set to be done on the 22nd. If they're not done on the 22nd, they'll be done on the 23rd. So, yay!
That lightsaber. It belongs to me. It belongs in a
Museum.
All right, and we will be right back after the break.
You're listening to Ham On and WTBR.
WTBR. Impressive. Most impressive.
Wireless. You hear that word used a lot today. We have wireless telephones, wireless internet systems, wireless microphones. What it actually means is that they are radios. And who knows more about radios than amateur radio operators? Call them amateurs or call them hams. They know the modern wireless world. They helped create it.
Want to win $200 cash? Then join WTBR and PCTV for a special music bingo night at Berkshire Hills Country Club on Saturday, February 8th. Food and drinks will be available for purchase, and the evening will include bingo games, a 50-50 raffle, and more. Doors open at 6:30 and the games begin at 7. Tickets will be available at the door the night of the event and cost $20. Don't miss Music Bingo with a grand prize of $200 cash. Saturday, February 8th at Berkshire Hills Country Club at 6:30 to benefit PCTV and WTBR. The $200 cash prize generously donated by Berkshire Community College.
Berkshire weather. WTBR radar weather for the Pittsfield area. Today, partly sunny this morning, then clearing. Cold with highs in the lower 30s. Northwest wind around 10 miles per hour with gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear. Much colder with lows around 5 above. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wind chill values as low as 3 below. Thursday, sunny, cold with highs in the lower 30s. North wind around 5 miles per hour in the morning, becoming light and variable. Weather forecasts for WTBR FM are provided by the National Weather Service.
Support for WTBR comes from Greylock Federal Credit Union, proud to support high school arts and sports programs to help our community thrive. Greylock Federal, with locations throughout the Berkshires and online at greylock.org. And from Eastover Winterfest coming up February 15th featuring Unlocking the Truth. Also featuring appearances from celebrity DJ Bilal and Uprush. This is in anticipation of the upcoming Berkshire Stock 2 Music Festival to be held at Eastover in late July. Tickets available at eastover.com. Pittsfield Community Television is thrilled to once again offer our local nonprofits an opportunity to produce their very own public service announcement with the return of PSA Days. Your organization will walk out the door with a professional-looking video to share and upload on the platforms of your choice. The best part, it's completely free of charge. For more details, go to pittsfieldtv.org/PSA Days or call our office during regular business hours at 413-445-4234. PSA Days are coming March 19th through the 21st, but slots are filling up quickly, so get in touch with us today.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
And we are back.
Our other cart wanted to say hello.
Our other cart wanted to say hello. And we are back on Ham On and WTBR FM. On the phone with us is Micheal Lawerence, who's a N2HFO, who is a frequent caller or a frequent check-in into the Maine Potato Net. And Micheal, before you say anything, I have to do this for you. The Maine Potato Net was started by potato farmers in Aristocks County, Maine, back in the early 1970s. Today it's a rag chew met. The only two things we don't talk about is politics and religion. That should make you feel at home. Hello, Micheal. How are you? Welcome to WTBR FM.
Hey, good morning, Peter. Well, I'm feeling good. It's a refreshing morning here in western New York.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to hear from me?
Oh, well, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know, who you are, what you do, and how you got into this hobby.
Oh, okay. Can do. You know, I got into this hobby in 1986. 1986 was an interesting time to do radio. Quite obvious for me, my life. I was in my early 30s. And radio, I drew to an interest in radio. Something to do, that allowed me to, stay in touch with people, run around. I had been, recently married, and we just had our first child. And, getting about, had to think of a strategy, and I had a coworker who says, "Hey, you should check out this radio stuff." And I said, "Okay." And they had the enhancement, which gave more privileges. It wasn't as regimented as it seemed to be earlier years. So the code was still intact, but it was purely a copy, interpretation of code, and they had various speeds, 3 speeds that categorized you. So we got into it, and over the years, been pretty consistent. But there was a point in my life when the kids got to an age I didn't have the time to interact with people on a regular basis. But thankfully, I didn't sell everything. So that's pretty much it. I'm retired now, as it be, and it gives me, again, a way to, interact with society. Of course, it's, it adheres a lot to the subject of radio, so good to have interest in the equipment, if you will, and propagations.
And speaking of propagation, which is a segue to our next question, because we get a lot of email and a lot of hits to our Facebook page about how to track propagation and how to deal with propagation. You kind of study propagation, don't you?
Yeah, as an amateur, rightfully so. Yes, I did it. Concentrated a lot of time. Really, I thought, I can do this. I, would study, as many hours as I could, consciously stay awake and follow, the transition of the propagation, what one would hear, from your station. And, that led to many other things, such as, like I thought you were going to, I realized you were going to ask me is about antennas, for instance. Different antennas during these propagations.
Yeah, and speaking of that, go ahead.
Yeah, how do you know what antenna works best for what kind of propagation? How do you look at an antenna and go, okay, this one will work perfectly for this, and it will set it up for that? And that's where non-hams will probably get confused.
From experience, actually, sometimes the experience is fed to you to a degree of what to expect. But the most enjoyable aspect of it is, finding it for yourself. Not just taking the word of another. So, antennas there's no magic bullet. Because you are an amateur, you're going to have tendencies to deviate, move around in frequency. And an antenna, you hear the term resonant. So what does that mean? Well, the amateur community depends on who you're listening to. They perceive it different ways. Like you'll hear people say, "My antenna is resonant." Yeah, it is. If you are where you designed it, but as soon as you move up and down in frequency, you're moving away from its actual resonance, and you have to address issues that come about. So when you're on the air and you're listening and wondering what antenna, mostly from experience, you'll get an idea. Or if you ask somebody a question specific, what antenna do you like to be on at nighttime or daytime? It can be scenarios such as that, daytime or nighttime. Two different antennas may come into play. Oh, it's easy.
So speaking of antennas, what do you have up in your yard?
A ridiculous amount of wire. I have 990 feet of wire currently suspended in this point in my life. For years I did much less. And there'll come a time that unless I can engineer social collaboration for my assistants, will I be able to maintain them, you know? So I'm lavishing in the world of many feet of wire to be able to, you know, take advantage of them being so. Any one of them singularly, if they are placed on the QTH, would be a different antenna. Would actually become a different antenna in behavior. You know, because what I've done is I've taken an approach of non-resonant antennas. I use open wire. I'm strictly HF and selective. I have a tri-bander that does 10, 15, and 20. Those bands, interesting, fascinating. It's not so much been there, done that, but I like what I perceive as a more relaxed atmosphere of propagations. And 75 and 160 meters are mostly to my liking. But no, as far as wires, I have 4 separate different wires, and they behave differently. There's no magic bullet. There's only what you'll perceive if you have an opportunity to place up more than one antenna. For instance, something as conceivable as a dipole and a ground-mounted vertical. You'll have 2 different antennas, and it'll be then that you'll realize, yeah, there's a difference. One will be perceived more productive in a certain manner than the other. But neither one can do what the other is able to do. Myself, ground-mounted vertical, I have not honestly experienced it for what conceivably has been experienced by a vertical. It has amazing range for conceivable reception as well as transmit. Have I personally experienced that? No, not to any kind of impressive degree, because I've been very attached to using wires that are horizontally strung rather than an aerial type approach, the ground-mounted vertical, for instance. But I do realize, if you want to look for the exotic signal, you have the patience and persistence of patience to study and run up and down the band with one, knock yourself out in today's electronics in support and area of radio. You have the luxuries, if you can afford, of a spectrum type receiver to place at your antenna, and you can look up and down, and you don't have to just keep wheeling back and forth up and down a band with a VFO like had been so long traditional.
So let's say that a new ham's coming on and wants to join us here on the main potato. Well, not here on the main potato because we're on WTBR, but on the main potato at 4:30, and they get a hold of you and they say, Michael, what do you think I should use as the best antenna for 3958 megahertz at 4:30 in the afternoon, so I could join in on the main potato net?
Well, that works. Everybody. This is one of the beauties of the hobby, if you want to look at it. Each person, especially with phone, each person's voice is so unique as a thumbprint. There's similarities recognized, but getting on the air, what's the idea? is getting to the station. What are your means? What are your means? What can you, physically and economically afford to put up reasonably? I mean, if I had money was no question, I was into this thing, into this hobby. Oh, yeah, I'd have rigid man-made structures. I wouldn't be holding my wires up on the end of branches. They'd be on mechanical, more reliable structures, But, no, one has to, stay within their means of being practical and accept it. It's good, this is where your fellow amateurs out there, could show some appreciation towards somebody that makes an effort that is, restricted. There's people that have had to construct antennas inside of an attic with wires, you can research and read about that approach, and to get on the air. Are they, there's, as I say, there's never going to be a magic bullet antenna. It'll always be just what one's the most productive one you've ever had, and what is productivity. You can personally make that, interpretation. If you're a DX sound, you want to listen to the stuff that's all, around the world, well, it'd be an antenna that does that. If you're one that wants to be able to talk to people that are locally, for expectation, like, during the daytime on 75, 300 miles and less, generally can be done for many hours during the daytime. At nighttime, the same 100-watt transmitter can do, easily 1,000 miles into California from the East Coast. Propagation characteristics. Daytime, nighttime. But an idea would be, try to put up some wire. Well, I think it depends again, what are your means, your tools, for constructing it? You're going to go coax. Do you have to go coax? As I said earlier, personnel like, balance feed, twin lead wire. It's been great for hundreds of years, it seems. Well, it's been used a long, long time. And the nature, the laws of nature don't change. We try to, just interpret and understand them. And I'd say, if you can get a wire up, God love you. If not, then you're going to you vertical. Other than that, you have, from your own QTH, if you can't put up an antenna, you just, the only other thing I understand is you can actually get on the internet and utilize somebody that, is sponsoring a station for usage by someone that has a call, assigned to them. But no, getting a wire up any way you can is what I would suggest. To strive for. Not everybody can get them up ideally, Peter. You can't. Not everybody can have them up, halfway or a whole wavelength. Definitely not a whole wavelength is easily possible for anybody. The average, I think, I've heard the average height of wires for, let's say, 40 and 75 meters, possibly even 160 for P6, is about 30 feet. Somewhere between 30 and 40 feet, because the resources, trees, and how much property somebody owns. The thing that's wildly ridiculous here, I have 990 feet of wires suspended over less than an acre of land. Yes, I have some very tolerant neighbors, but being diplomatic, and that's being diplomatic with them, and good with them. And of course, some of my neighbors are very interesting with things they like to do, as far as behavior. and it's not necessarily putting wires up into the air. I do have an amateur that's down the street from me, only 6 houses, 1/10 of a mile. Tom, he's got a very interesting call. November 2, Bravo, Oscar, Oscar. Sounds kind of like a Halloween call, doesn't it? And Tubu. But Tom, he's much more modest. He's just got, he has one wire up. It's a big one. It's 550 feet or something. And it's all over the place. It's up and down, all around the property. And it works. It works. There's times, seemingly, it works as well as my big loop. And in some scenarios, it does. You know, propagations is a marvelous thing. It's one of the fascinations about radio is that sometimes a 100-watt station has defeated the pile-up against stations running, multiples more power, thanks to timing and propagations.
Yeah, I can actually attest to that. Back in Albany when I had the G5 RV up, I was running a DX contest, and I was up against, legal limit stations. And me on my little 100-watt little transceiver with a G5 RV 35 feet in the air and limbs scattered God knows where, I was able to work those stations over the top of the legal limit 1,500-watt stations. So you're right about that.
Timing and Mother Nature is wonderful.
So, I don't know if you know, but there's been a lot of debate about grounding, not grounding on the antennas.
Oh, goodness. Grounding or not grounding. Well, it depends what the scenario is, for you.
Well, in general, because, a lot we've had
stations, the first thing you should really get to understand and know is your grounding. What is your grounding? What grounding is associated to, electrical utility grounds. And items of reflection, items of coupling, fences, gutters. I don't know anybody that's, living in an apartment next to a distribution center where there's 40-foot aluminum tractor trailers parked in lines. But, even items like that. But grounding directly, yeah. Getting to understand, know what your grounding is. And with a radio station, it's always to your advantage to unify your grounding.
All right, it's that time again. We're going to go to the break, and then we'll come back, and we'll have this little discussion. There's more debate about grounding, where it should be done, and then any other further things that Michael wants to put in. So stand by, Michael. We will be back. This is Michael. That's Micheal Lawerence on 2HFO. This is Ham On WTBR FM.
You're listening to Ham On WTBR.
We would be honored if you would join us. WTBR.
I can't take it anymore.
I need to get away. There's too much to handle. Being a teenager is tough. Family, teachers, friends, life. The stress can be overwhelming. It's only natural to want to escape. Things are so hard right now.
I have to get out of here.
Sometimes running away seems like the only choice, but it can be dangerous and definitely not what you expected. National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. Call 1-800-RUNAWAY.
Running away is nothing like I imagined.
I don't know what to do.
Whether you've recently run away, thinking about it, or are a concerned parent or guardian, call 1-800-RUNAWAY. National Runaway Switchboard is free, confidential, available 24 hours a day, offering support and guidance now to get you through this tough time. 1-800-RUNAWAY was there for me.
Thanks, 1-800-RUNAWAY.
I'm glad I called.
You think you know what radio is, but there is a radio you may not have yet discovered. Amateur radio, or as it is often called, ham radio. You can talk to the world.
Hey, Yoshi, you're my first contact with Japan.
Help when disasters strike.
The Hurricane Emergency Net is now open for priority traffic.
Or make friends worlds away.
G'day, mate. Beautiful day here out in Australia. I tell you what, the waves are
Say hello to the world via amateur radio. The ARRL, the National Organization for Amateur Radio, can teach you how. Visit helloradio.org and say hello to ham radio.
WTBR radar weather for the Pittsfield area. Today, partly sunny this morning, then clearing. Cold Cold with highs in the lower 30s. Northwest wind around 10 miles per hour with gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear. Much colder with lows around 5 above. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wind chill values as low as 3 below. Thursday, sunny, cold with highs in the lower 30s. North wind around 5 miles per hour in the morning, becoming light and variable. Weather forecasts for WTBR-FM are provided by the National Weather Service.
Learning to read and write is the best gift I've ever given my children.
Danny James is a 33-year-old mother. 5 years ago, she decided to change her life by attending adult literacy classes. She'll never forget the day she was first able to help her daughter with her homework.
For the first time, I was really there for her.
Literacy, it's a whole new world.
For more information, please call 1-800-447-8844. Hotline funded by the Massachusetts Department of Education.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
And we are back on WTBR FM. So we're going to go to the trivia question before we go back to Michael. So, among the ranks of amateur radio enthusiasts, ham radio operators, are many royals. Which of the following is not or was not a ham? King Juan Carlos of Spain, Prince Talia of Saudi Arabia, King Hussein of Jordan, or Queen Elizabeth II of England? Michael, do you have any guess?
I would guess the Queen myself.
Ding, 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 ding.
Her father used to give speeches and stuff like that, but I think she had some other interests.
Yes, the answer is Queen Elizabeth II of England. King Hussein held the call sign JY1. Prince Talia held the call sign of SU1VN, and King Juan Carlos held the call sign of EA0JC. So that was our trivia question. So we were talking about the debate about grounding or not grounding, and there's a big debate over, because if you're going to get a direct hit from lightning, you're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. What is your opinion on this debate? And I know you've heard the debate. We've had I think there's been discussion on the main potato net about grounding as compared grounding to non-grounding.
Thoughts of grounding? Oh God, yes. Goodness, yes. Grounding is good. They both start with G. Grounding is good. I've had the wonderful liberty to see the interiors of transmitting sites for television and radio broadcasting, and yes, it's quite evident. They use strips of copper all over bonding. There's how lightning occurs. What you're trying to do by grounding is unite yourself to the same potential as your environment around you. And the thing that, is quite evident, if you're tall, you're the tallest thing around, there's a likeliness you'll be the first thing contacted by an event of lightning in and of the area. You're part of the same potential. So when you're establishing grounding, with a station, what are you actually trying to do? You're trying to unify yourself to your environment. You hear of a thing called ground conductivity. You want to be part of that. And to a degree, you have the ability to exert persuasion to what could happen in nature. I mean, you go in a cave, you might be all right from lightning. You come outside, you make decisions. By putting up an antenna system, you're doing the same thing. You made a decision to have something associated, connected to you, continuity, to lightning events, and by floating an antenna or having it grounded during a storm, I say it's a good idea to have it grounded to the ground potential, but away from you. In other words, when my wires are disconnected, the way they're disconnected, I use double pole, double throw switches to run this open wire, and I can play with them and you get different effects, radio-wise, listening, receiving, that kind of stuff. By choosing what position I place the other antennas that are not in use, whether I leave them floating or grounded. The way it is right now, when I do a total disconnect for safety, okay, I'm going to be away from the station, don't want anything happen to equipment. Total complete ground is the blade switch is over and thrown on to the input leads from outside to the blade switch. And the blade switch shunts, shorts out, shunts it over, bridges it over to my earth ground. And my earth ground is at a position where they're bonded utility ground provided by the utility company, as well as any additional grounds I place, in my yard and about. It's all bonded together. Well, when I throw my antennas into a disconnect because of possible event, lightning storms, it takes the antennas, and those wires are up in the sky, still mighty high, okay, subject to exposure, but in some ways they are camouflaged because they are unified, connected to the earth ground potential around me. Yes, they're a little high, but they are not, building any kind of static potential that may be more encouraging than not. You've heard the stories, Pete, you probably know it very well. You take a DC type antenna and you get friction going across it. It'll charge up the wire with static. And they'll start, at the end of a transmission line, you can see it looks just like a spark plug out of a lawnmower going off, snap, snap, snap. Slow current, but, extremely high voltage in order to make that air gap. You're charging up the wires like a capacitor, So, yeah, grounding is a good idea. Very, very good idea. People have survived, they've disconnected their antennas, to simply open up the drawbridge and go for that. But you still got that lead that's just a few inches, or an inch or two. Kind of strike you out. It's going to seek all possible, convenient paths of lightning. I personally experienced one lightning strike, and whatever the reason be, I'd be fortunate to see it happen. I actually watched my ladder line fall out of the sky, flames and smoke. In about 3 seconds, which seemed like eternity, wow. I drew to conclusion, run downstairs, is anything on fire? And there was.
And we're talking to Micheal Lawerence, N2HFO from West Henrietta, New York. This is Ham On WTBR FM, and we're talking about antennas and grounding and propagation and the main potato net. And for those hams, and even if you're not a ham, if you want to listen, the main potato net is on 3.958 megahertz, 75 meters at 4:30. I think we're moving it again if the email's right.
Are we chasing the propagation speed?
Yeah, I think it's going to 5 o'clock now, but 4:30, 5 o'clock in that neighborhood. And I actually NCS on Saturday, and we have a bunch of nice and bunch of great NCS people. K0 Papa Bravo, KD20AM, John KE2MA, myself, N2FKW, who started this whole thing, who we're going to get on next month, and he can explain in detail about the main potato net. But, yeah, if you want to tune in, it's 3.958 megahertz. We're there 4:30, 5 o'clock, give or take, every night of the week. It's an open rag TuneNet. We have NetLogger that the NCS use. So, we get, 5 minutes. All right, so here's the question. Which antenna that you have in your farm that you think is the best for that you've used for that time period of the main potato net every night?
Oh, for me? Oh, gosh. Of recent, it's probably been the small loop. The small loop compared to the big loop. I have, the wire that's for 160. It's higher. It's bigger. But I can couple it for that band playing, and small loop is probably the best. Why? A gainful, omnidirectional height. The inverted V, not so great. The high wire at that time of day, the propagations, I can toss back and forth, but usually on the receive, it'll talk good to people. It'd be received good by people. But for me personally, it brings up too much. It brings in too much atmosphere noise, diminishing the characteristics of that station where they sound better in the low. So I say the lower one. But this is the marvels of radio and gatherings. When you have people gathering, you can get stations that on your own you would not been able to solicit get in. And really, again, it's kind of a tangent, Pete, and it's away from the question. Amateur radio itself, in essence, is all about what? Communication. Why else do you need a license? To transmit. So your intentions would be, ought to be, to communicate. And from there, you can go, how you're brought up, the way you're educated. You try to find people of like. Usually, it seems to be the natural thing. You're looking for somebody or people or a number of people that are interested in answering the questions or hearing your theories or experiences. So, yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful hobby. But, getting back to your question, usually it's the 266-foot loop that's on average about 45, 50 feet. With balanced feed line. Over.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. We're got like 2 minutes. So, Michael, thank you for being here. Micheal Lawerence, N2HFO. You can catch him on the main potato net at 4:30 almost every night. And where else are you hanging out besides 3958?
Of recent, I had spent a lot of time. Here's a frequency for folks. It's maybe a little challenging to get to the East Coast, but not, depending on how fortunate you are in antenna. It's 3916. It's a frequency that has a unique behavior due to the consistency of a few particular stations who have dedicated themselves to give it support. They use NetLogger. They do trivia. They actually have an old classic net, and they commence usage of that frequency pretty much just before evening. It's pretty much populated by Central Time being operators, but the East Coast and the West Coast get in. The West Coast not as prominent in presence as the East Coast, but it's all glued together by the central a part of the country. That's on 3916. Other than that, I'm a maverick. I like to just roll about up and down 80 and 75 and 160 and listen to various gatherings, groups, if you will.
All right, Michael, thank you. Hate to cut you off, but we got like 20 seconds. We got you off the air.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, and good luck with your show.
And thanks for being here. Micheal Lawerence, N2HFO. Micheal Lawerence, who's on the main potato net. We will see you next week. This is Peter.
This is Jessica.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.